okay with that noise there? Hey? Are you?
And we are live right now. So, hi there. The Five Prime team is excited to start our AMA series with Matthew Finestone, Head of Business at Loopring. My name is Nadia, and I'm going to be an AMA series host. In the beginning, I would like to say a little bit about how it will go. So we asked the DeFi community to post questions about Loopring at our Alpha DeFi community forum. So we sourced a few interesting questions for EMA, and we will ask a few questions from our team as well. Thank you, Matthew and DeFi community for joining us today. So let's get started.
Thank you, Nadia.
Thank you for joining us. So, and our first question. Can you introduce yourself and give us a little of your background and what got you into crypto?
Sure. So I'm Matthew, as you said, leading the business side of things for Loopring. My background is like a normal finance background, centralized finance. I guess my last real finance job was as a bond trader, or working on this sales and trading desk of a fixed income dealer. Yeah, and I was really just pure finance focused, and then got into crypto. Just heard about it, was curious about it, fell down the rabbit hole. The same story as like everybody else mostly. And one day I just couldn't take normal finance anymore. I said, well, DeFi wasn't a thing back then, but I just really dove into that world, and I joined Loopring like kind of 1 month or two, like really shortly after they launched, and never looked back.
So thank you. Yeah, it's very interesting. The second question, what is the Loopring in a nutshell? Please explain it in a high level for those who don't know it yet.
Yeah, sure. So it's funny because the answer today is different than it was 3 years ago, is different than it was 2 years ago even, but Loopring started life as a DEX protocol. We still are a DEX protocol, but we're much more these days. We really heavily focused on scalability solutions as of about 1.5 years ago or more now, and we implemented the first ZK rollup. So Loopring is a ZK rollup protocol for scaling Ethereum exchanges and payments. So it's kind of, depending on who you ask, Loopring is a DEX protocol, or now it's a scalability protocol. It's something in between, but yeah, Loopring builds ZK rollups that can dramatically scale the throughput and reduce the cost of Ethereum DEXs and payments without giving up any security guarantees at all. So that's what we do.
Okay, but it's not easy for the beginners, right? Because it's a pretty deep topic.
Yeah, I guess ZK rollups represent like an advanced topic, although more and more they're becoming mainstream because of all Ethereum congestion. So layer 2 is becoming more known. It used, like 6 months ago, it was like, explaining something in a different language. Now people are beginning to wrap their head. People know what's up. So yeah.
So thank you. So the next one. Why would someone use Loopring to trade tokens instead of simply using 1inch or Uniswap? And how hard to bootstrap and order book DEX?
Right. Okay. So the reason why somebody would use Loopring, I mean, we kind of have a few user personas, I guess you could say, and they're kind of at extreme ends of the spectrum. The first is if somebody wants to trade in like a high performance fashion, either manually or more likely with their programmatic trading bot on an Ethereum DEX, they cannot do that they cannot do that in the same style that they did in like the old world. They cannot do that on Ethereum layer 1 DEXs like Uniswap or 1inch. If you want to, let's say me, I come from the old trading world. But if one of my colleagues wanted, had a kind of programmatic formula about how he liked to trade assets, he needs to be able to do that. He or she needs to be able to do that very fast and very cheaply, right? They need to be able to place maybe 5 orders per second, cancel 4 of those in an instant later. They need to be able to settle it, and that can't cost them 50 cents or an arm and a leg. It has to cost, it has to be cheap. So Loopring is for high performance trading. Our ZK rollup scalability allows us to replicate a centralized exchange experience. So for anybody out there that either likes centralized exchange experience for some just behavioral reason, they like the instant clicking and that type of thing, Loopring is good for that. But for the more sophisticated trader that wants to deploy a kind of low latency, high performance strategy, they need to use something like Loopring or one of the another layer 2 DEX, because you simply can't run your strategy fast enough on layer 1. So it's for sophisticated traders. On the other end, it's also for traders right now that aren't trading huge amounts. So maybe like, again, the other end, a new trader, a retail trader. If I wanted to trade, $15 worth of ETH right now on Uniswap, it might cost me, I don't know, $6, right? In these crazy gas price times, it's not suitable to trade small amounts. Once you're on Loopring ZK Rollup, which is kind of like this other environment, this fast lane, you could trade gas free. And in some cases, completely free. If you're a maker order, it's completely free. You actually earn a rebate, so a negative fee. But even if you're a taker, you're not paying gas. You're just paying a small percent, in between 6 basis points and 20 basis points.
Yeah, it's a nice reason.
So that's exactly it. You have people that need the sophistication and very high performance trades. You also have people that just want to do a little bit of trades without getting crushed by gas fees. So combined, that is who could be on a Loopring exchange.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's all right.
And sorry, Nadia, I realized there was a second part of your question about how to bootstrap an order book DEX.
Yes.
I won't go into that like too deeply, but that's a huge consideration and a huge thing that we face every day. We just mentioned Uniswap. It's so lovely to be able to trade any pair on Uniswap, right? It's there. All somebody has to do is kind of create the pool.
Absolutely.
And deposit assets in equal proportion in Uniswap's case. In our case, it's much more like a centralized exchange format. We have to list the pair, kind of like expose it on the front end, have the matching engine ready on our back end. Like, even though we're completely Ethereum based exchange, we still have this off-chain infrastructure that has to host an order book and match those trades. So we cannot get bootstrapped as quickly as an AMM, as an on-chain AMM. So that's something that I'm honestly, I'm jealous of, the ability to bootstrap markets in the same way of an AMM. We have to kind of be more, a concerted effort and say, okay, we're listing this, here are the market makers, or here's the incentives for people to get going. So it is, you could think of it as much more as a centralized exchange listing tokens, right? There's some type of process. We cannot just snap our fingers and list every asset, although we're working towards solutions to bridge that gap.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's really cool. So next one, it's a question from the community. It's very funny. It started like, we love hot new DeFi tokens here in DeFi Prime. How is the tokens listed process in Loopring exchange look like, and how do you choose project to be listed?
Right. Okay.
Hot token.
That's so yeah, kind of similar to that last question. We have to say, so specifically, like, I'll dive into the bit of the technical weeds here just very, very lightly, but everything, like a ZK rollup, scales because it pushes everything off chain, or as much as possible, right? The order book is hosted, the kind of state of the world is kept in an off-chain data structure, it's updated there, and then those updates are pushed on chain in like a verifiable manner with a validity proof that Ethereum just says, yep, that is a valid proof, carry on. because everything happens off chain, again, we have to do things like the old way, the centralized exchange rate. We're maintaining a server that has to say, okay, we now support, ETH versus USDC. We now support, Wi-Fi versus USDT. We have to make those. So it's a manual process right now. How we decide is, we have a listing form, kind of the prototypical listing form that's out there. The requirements are really twofold. Is it an ERC20 compliant token? Like ERC20 with no extra little funky things going on, because we could really only support like plain vanilla ERC20 tokens in our Merkle tree, in the off-chain structure. So if that's easy enough, that's simple. We check the token. If it's an ERC20, perfect. Then we say, okay, now we have to do this manual process. Shall we list Wi-Fi versus USDT? It takes some of the relayer engineers and it takes some of the front end engineers to expose it. So we'll just make an assessment of, is there demand? Will this kind of excite our existing community members, our existing exchange users? Will it excite a new group that really wants to use Loopring because, maybe, token X is really fed up with all these gas fees and they have a constituent of high performance traders or retail traders. So we'll make a very human decision of, shall we list it? And then the big thing is, it goes back to bootstrapping it. We could list a pair. Like yesterday, we listed Wi-Fi USDT and Curve CRV USDT. We listed them with no market maker support, right? When a normal centralized exchange is like, they kind of go about it in a more formal way. They have market makers that bootstrap the books. So on day one, like, people are there. We're kind of trying to go about it a more grassroots way, where we'll list a pair and the book will be empty at first. So it's quite unattractive, right? You just have an empty book. Somebody has to go in and put a bunch of asks, put a bunch of bids for the next user to be, feel welcome and feel like this is an exchange. So we need to kind of imagine, how can we bootstrap liquidity? Do we want the team, like the token issuer, are they going to plug in via API and kind of make markets themselves? Do they have a market making partner that will plug in via API and kind of bootstrap the books? Sometimes they'll give us a loan. They'll say, hey, Loopring team, here is X amount of assets. Please just get the book going, with a base level of liquidity, and we'll do that. Other times, and this is the final thing I'll say, we'll just say, let's do an experiment, screw it. Let's list this pair, see what happens. Maybe, if you build it, they will come type of thing, which honestly doesn't usually work out. It's not that trivial. Although I have to see maybe how Wi-Fi and Curve are doing today, if the books are being bootstrapped. But really our big goal, and what we're going to do, and this is what we're working on behind the scenes, is we don't want to have to speak to the token issuer, to a specific market maker. We want to list it. And then users, especially like the programmatic users on Loopring, are incentivized to add liquidity to the book via these liquidity mining campaigns, which I actually wrote a guide on DeFi Prime, on alpha.defiprime.com, a liquidity mining guide. Basically, it incentivizes anybody to place resting limit orders on the order book. So imagine, like, if we started a liquidity mining campaign yesterday with Wi-Fi USDT, which we didn't in this case, we just listed it. We said, okay, here it is. Whoever puts liquidity on the order book gets rewarded every hour with a fixed amount every hour. Then the community will say, okay, great, I'm going to add an order here, an order here, an order here. And then they're making, a couple bucks or more per hour over a month, right? We usually do like $3,000 over 30 days. Anyways, so those are the considerations. We really want to be able to have the community, our kind of distributed set of market makers, organically bootstrap a book. We don't want to work with one monolithic giant firm. We want the community to reap the rewards, and that's what we're working on. We just simply don't have it as easy.
That's a nice point of view. Yeah, I like it.
Okay, thank you.
I like it, Ella. Thank you for answer. The next one. Is there any sort of plan to move governance of Loopring to a decentralized mechanism run by LRC holders?
Yes, definitely in the works. Our LRC token right now is used by people to stake, like normal users stake to earn protocol fees. Any trade that happens on any Loopring based exchange, 6 basis points go into a fee vault, that stakers have a claim on. It's also used by DEXs who have to stake LRC as a kind of extra economic bond, or like what I like to call a service level guarantee. Because even though Loopring security is only reliant on Ethereum and zero knowledge cryptography, no other assumptions, no set of validators, anything like that, but LRC must be staked for certain other guarantees. Anyways, all that to say, we have come a long way in, like, our token model is a year old at this point. Like, we revised it. We're 3 years old, but we revised it last year. But we've come a long way, and we're also learning from the great experiments and new tokens that come out, right? These different governance tokens, how they could do it. We certainly have plans for LRC to have governing powers over the protocol. Again, tying back to this whole listing question, it's quite a meaningful thread here. There's just certain things that must happen off chain in a ZK rollup. Loopring can never become complete. The protocol can become completely governable on chain, right? The protocol is just the set of smart contracts, and it's the zero knowledge circuits. Anything on chain can become purely governed by LRC holders. However, let's say right now we gave LRC a bunch of governance, governance power. Let's just say whatever people believe governance to be, that's what LRC, that's what we bestow to LRC right now. There's still this action that has to happen off chain. Like for Loopring.io, our one instance of a product built on Loopring, we have to decide what will be listed, right?
Okay.
Us, humans in the real world, not some on-chain, pure on-chain interaction. So we could use, so in that sense, the protocol could become purely governable, but like a product and the off-chain component still can never be controlled fully on chain, but it can be signaled by LRC holders, right? We could say, hey, shall we list Wifey versus USDT and run a liquidity mining campaign for $10,000 on it? Or shall we do that with another token or nothing? And then we could have the LRC voters, they could vote, but it's just like a signal, right? We could respect it, but ultimately, let me be honest, we could say, it's our relayer. We're the ones, paying that virtual computer in the cloud. We will do what we want. So it can govern pure on-chain mechanisms in the protocol, which is substantial, but there will always be certain relayer off-chain activities that will just have to use LRC as a signaling mechanism.
Okay, good, thank you. So the next one. There is a popular belief in a community that L2 breaks DeFi composability. Just a second. There is a popular belief in a community that L2 breaks DeFi composability. What does composable L2 look like for Loopring?
Right. That popular belief is founded. It's largely true. So layer twos, like, it's helpful to just think about it like conceptually. You have layer one, then you have a different layer. They're not as composable as everything on layer one itself, to different degrees. ZK rollups are actually probably the least composable right now. On a spectrum of all the different flavors of L2 scaling solutions, it's helpful to think about what the trade-offs are. ZK rollups are the most kind of secure and restrictive. They don't have, as I said, they don't have any other assumptions about validators or kind of these crypto economic games for security and exit games like Plasma so it's completely secure. It only relies on Ethereum being there, existing, plus the zero knowledge cryptography, but we're less flexible. It's like we're kind of, we have like a very narrow lane to run in. We cannot do all these general computation, arbitrary EVM type actions. So that's where ZK rollups fit. Other layer twos can be more composable. The general understanding right now is that optimistic rollups, there's none live today on Ethereum mainnet, but some great ones are coming. Those are more composable because they don't have this restrictive zero knowledge kind of black box that everything must travel through. They could replicate the EVM. They could have the EVM on the optimistic rollup. So the first thing is, forget Loopring, forget ZK rollup, just L2 at large. They will become composable with L1. But many smart teams are working on that. Then the general understanding is that, okay, so ZK rollups are kind of here today. They work. Loopring was the first one. Now we have peers that are with us. Optimistic rollups are going to come. They're going to enable more composable actions. ZK rollups eventually will be able to be more composable, but we need kind of like advancements and like lower level things to happen. This is over my head, to be honest, but we need kind of advancements in like the type of cryptography, the type of proving systems, or like the elliptic curves supported on Ethereum. So like ZK rollups, it's generally understood, will become composable in the future with just certain lower level advancements. So all that to say, like, it's a problem, but there's so many smart teams, so many smart people, it's going to be solved, and it's going to be solved in different formats. I will say we are not waiting for ZK rollups to become composable, due to just these lower level advancements. We are doing things, kind of these like, I call them like tricks, but like just ways that we could make our protocol more composable with layer one. And that is what's coming in our upcoming version 3.6. Right now, Loopring is version 3.1. 3.6 will come out in Q4 2020. There's a lot of cool things we could do which enhance composability. The main one, I'll just run through it very quickly, this like idea of a custom deposit contract. Assets that are in a ZK rollup deposit contract, like right now, all the funds that are on loopring.io are in a smart contract. It's about $20 million worth of assets or something that are there, and they're kind of like locked. Different users deposit it, and that balance is mapped to the Merkle tree, the layer 2 environment. And you change things in that environment, and then at the end of the day, the user can now withdraw, their balance that has changed in that environment that's reflected in the smart contract. We enable that smart contract to kind of play nicely with other money Legos in the upcoming version. So all the funds, like right now, those funds are just sitting there idle. They're unproductive. USDT is sitting there, DAI, ETH, they're just sitting there because they have to be in this layer 2 environment. In version 3.6, we allow those funds to be used productively in a layer 1 DeFi protocol. We could put all of the DAI into the DAI savings rate, let's say. We could put all of the link into Aave, right? Into like an Aave token link to become an income producing asset. We could have our deposit contract play nicely with other layer 1 protocols and kind of money Legos. So that's what's really exciting. You won't have to make it, because right now you have to make a decision. I want to put 100,000 USDT on Loopring so I could trade fast and cheap, and it's there, and I could transfer fast and cheap. But I also want to put this USDT into Curve so I could yield farm and stuff like that, right? So 3.6 is a huge leap there, where you could kind of have your cake and eat it too. You could have assets on layer 2 ready to like run and not pay gas fees. They could also be earning their kind of layer 1 yield. So that's really exciting.
Okay, good. Thank you for explaining. It's so good. I like it. I like how you're excited about it. It's like, it seems like you love what you do.
That's true.
Yeah, it's super cool, because I love the people who are excited about that work. So, and the last one. There are a few different L2 protocols on the market. We've seen recent DYDX partnership announcements with Starkware. How is Loopring different, and how to compare L2 protocols?
Right. So good question. Yeah, L2 is becoming, it's hard to keep track on the space. It's like the same way it's hard to keep track of like DeFi, everything coming out every day. L2 is like becoming a bit like that. But yeah, we have some super strong peers. I don't honestly think of them as competitors. We all need, I'm not just saying this isn't like my nice way to say it, but like we all need to succeed to scale Ethereum, right? Like it's not going to be just one or the other. They're all going to have to kind of exist, doing their own things, be able to speak to each other, right? Interoperability between layer 2s is going to be a topic. But so that's the first thing. I think like you have to have this like, you have to frame it as like, it's not like an either or. This has to be, a thriving layer of highways that all connect to Ethereum. So, but the big thing is how we're different is I mean, yeah, so the recent Starkware announcement with DYDX, I mean, that's awesome. Starkware is fantastic. They're, the inventors of some of this cryptography. They are like, they're kind of the theoreticians. How I like to think about Loopring compared to them, like they are really like amazing theoreticians, mathematicians, inventors of some of this of this math and some of this cryptography. We're not like at that kind of layer of theory. We're kind of more like practitioners and implementers. We dove into ZK rollups like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and we became the first implementer of it, right? Like our ZK rollup has been live for 8 months already, since December 2019. It seems kind of crazy because L2 is only like top of mind right now, but we're kind of like very fast to take the best technology and put it to work in practice. That's how I kind of think about our team's strengths. That's not to say like, I mean, so we're a team of 20, 17 of us are engineers. So we're a highly, highly technical team. We're just not inventing like the proving systems per se. We're inventing how to put them into products and into just how to implement them. So that's like our strength. I think we're a very, very strong technical team, but we're not on the theory side. But yeah, so besides that, a big difference with us is how we're moving up the stack to build our own products. This is a really fascinating just like business case to think about how DeFi and all these companies have adapted and what the model is. Like, I think like a great example is Dharma. Dharma was like a peer-to-peer lending protocol, and then they just like, nope, we're going to build like products on top of our competitor, the peer-to-pool lending protocol Compound, right? And now they kind of are their own, they're doing really cool work. And it's so cool to see, even like 0x, right? 0x was like the dominant or preeminent like DEX protocol, and they still are. They're also awesome, but them too moved up the stack, and now they have Matcha, like an aggregator. So all these like, it seems to me that like moving up the stack from just being a protocol to owning a product where you could more closely interact with your users, have that touch point, that's like a strong business case. And we have done that. For our whole life, we were just protocol people building just the tech, just the infrastructure, just the protocol. And then in February, we moved up the stack to build Loopring.io, kind of our flagship product right now, the exchange and payment application, Loopring.io. So that's also how we're different. Like Starkware is right now just like a service provider to Diversify and now to DYDX, which is awesome. That's their thing. We kind of operate at that back end level and that technology level, but also moving up the stack to operate products. And really our big product hasn't launched yet, even though like Loopring.io is the product, like kind of the layer 2 product that is most used right now, to be frank, in the entire space. But our huge focus is actually our upcoming mobile smart contract wallet with Loopring ZK Roll tucked in natively to every little kind of nook and cranny that it can be. So if someone's doing a trade on our wallet, it's going to be gas free on the ZK rollup, like using the Loopring DEX. If you're doing a transfer, it's using Loopring Pay. It's going to be gas free, completely free. So things like that, we're building this mobile smart contract wallet. That's how I'd say we're different than other L2s. Even, Matter Labs, another amazing, amazing team. Also very similar to Starkware in terms of just really next level geniuses is my perception of them. They're awesome. They, I kind of view us as like kind of traversing the stack a bit more and just being, being concerned with the protocol, but also products. But that's not to say, like our protocol is open. Anybody could use it. People are using it. There's another DEX in China that uses it. There's wallets integrating it as we speak, stuff like that. But that's how I kind of view us. I hope that makes sense. There's a lot to unpack there, but I guess it's a kind of a business. It's a business decision as well as, then there's other technological differences. Starkware uses Starks. We use Snarks, right? Those have their own trade-offs. Starks don't require a trusted setup. They're like bigger proofs. Snarks do require trusted setup, but we could, we have the smaller proofs. So there's technological differences, but we'll see. Maybe we're going to see a whole convergence of like proving systems. Maybe we're going to use something else. We could borrow from Matter Labs. We could borrow from Starkware. Who knows? But yeah, I'd say there's technical differences as well as just like business decision and like motivation differences.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I love all your answers. So it seems like we're done. Well, that wraps up our AMA for today. Thank you again, Matthew, for joining us and all the community members viewing the stream. We will also add any links to the description of the YouTube video once completed, so you can follow us and follow up with your research and explore Loopring further. If you have questions that was not addressed, please feel free to drop by the DeFi Prime social channels after the chat, and we will do our best to answer them. We are looking forward to do more of this in the future. So make sure to subscribe to our channel for more content for the DeFi Prime team. Thank you so much, Matthew. Thank you again. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, DeFi Prime, for having me and for all you do.